The Wineville Chicken Coop Murders, the twisted crimes of Gordon Stewart Northcott in the late 1920s, a series of horrific events unfolded on a chicken farm in Wineville, California, that would become known as the Wineville Chicken Coop Murders. The case involved the abduction, abuse, and murder of young boys, carried out by a sadistic man named Gordon Stewart Northcott. The chilling nature of these crimes and the public outcry that followed left a dark stain on California's history. The town of Wineville was so horrified by the events that it changed its name to Mira Loma to distance itself from the infamous crimes. A farm of horror. The story begins with Gordon Stewart Northcott, a Canadian-born man who moved to California with his family and set up a chicken farm in the rural town of Wineville, just outside of Los Angeles. To the outside world, Northcott seemed like a hard-working farmer, but beneath the surface, he was a predator who harbored a sadistic desire to harm young boys. In 1926, Northcott began abducting boys from Los Angeles and surrounding areas, luring them to his farm with promises of work or shelter. Once there, the boys were subjected to unimaginable abuse. Northcott, along with his mother, Sarah Louise Northcott, and his young nephew, Sanford Clark, kept the boys captive in a chicken coop on the property, where they tortured and eventually murdered them. Northcott's cruelty knew no bounds, and he derived pleasure from tormenting his victims before finally killing them. For 2 years, boys between the ages of 9 and 12 began disappearing from nearby areas, including Los Angeles. The families of these missing children were left in agony, not knowing what had happened to their sons. Little did they know that the boys had been taken to Northcott's chicken farm, where their lives would end in the most horrifying way possible. The disappearance of Walter Collins. One of the most publicized cases tied to the Wineville Chicken Coop Murders was the disappearance of 9-year-old Walter Collins in March 1928. Walter's mother, Christine Collins, launched a desperate search for her son, and the case gained national attention when police initially believed they had found the boy alive in Illinois. However, it soon became clear that the child in question was not Walter, and the real boy remained missing. Christine Collins' relentless search for her son eventually led authorities to investigate Gordon Northcott's chicken farm, following a tip from Northcott's nephew, Sanford Clark. Clark, who had been forced to participate in the abuse and murder of the boys, managed to escape and tell his story to the police. His testimony would uncover the full extent of Northcott's sadistic crimes. The gruesome discovery. When police arrived at the Wineville chicken farm, they uncovered evidence that confirmed their worst fears. Human remains were found buried on the property, though many of the bodies had been disposed of so thoroughly that identification was impossible. Some victims had been dismembered, and their remains were scattered across the farm or burned in an effort to destroy the evidence. It was believed that between 3 and 20 boys had been killed by Northcott, though the true number of victims may never be known. Among the remains found on the property were those of brothers Lewis and Nelson Winslow, ages 10 and 12, who had disappeared from Pomona, California, in 1928. The gruesome nature of the killings horrified both the police and the public, as more details of Northcott's sadistic behavior emerged. The trial and conviction. Gordon Stewart Northcott was arrested and brought to trial in early 1929. He initially denied all charges but eventually confessed to killing several boys, though he later recanted his confession in a bizarre and erratic series of statements. His mother, Sarah Louise Northcott, was also arrested for her involvement in the murders, and she confessed to killing Walter Collins. In a highly publicized trial, Northcott was convicted of the murders of the Winslow brothers and another unidentified boy, but many believed he had killed far more. He was sentenced to death, and on October 2, 1930, Northcott was executed by hanging at San Quentin State Prison. His mother, Sarah, was sentenced to life in prison for her role in the murders. A legacy of horror. The Wineville Chicken Coop Murders shocked the nation and left a lasting impact on the families of the victims and the surrounding communities. Christine Collins never found her son Walter, and despite Northcott's mother's confession, there was no definitive proof that Walter had been one of Northcott's victims. Christine continued to search for Walter for the rest of her life, hoping that one day he would be found. The case also had a profound effect on the town of Wineville, which sought to distance itself from the dark legacy of the murders. In 1930, the town officially changed its name to Mira Loma, erasing the association with one of the most gruesome criminal cases in California's history. The Wineville Chicken Coop Murders remain a haunting reminder of the evil that can lurk behind seemingly ordinary facades. Gordon Stewart Northcott's sadistic crimes and the horrific treatment of his victims left a scar on the community that can never be fully erased. Though justice was eventually served, the pain and loss endured by the victims' families continue to resonate to this day. This true story of the Wineville Chicken Coop Murders is one of the most disturbing and grotesque cases in American history. The sheer brutality of Gordon Stewart Northcott's crimes and the tragic fates of his young victims make it a haunting and chilling tale that still lingers in the shadows of California's past.